All right, my name is Gavin Garonzo, actually. I'm a Cincinnati-based artist. I've been painting pretty much my whole life. Just in October did I start doing Ganzo gear, which is my line of painted clothing, painted purses, among other painted things. I will paint anything that can be painted. I've always had a drive to be creative in my life since a very young age. I've been doing something creative, whether it's art or clothing or really just doodling in class. I really started to notice that art was something that I wanted to do in high school when we had the option to choose between music, art, and theater. And I did clothing for the theater company, but for classes I took the art classes, and there I really started to develop my skill. After that, I went into design school at DAP, starting off in fashion and then moving into industrial design. That was really where I honed my skill and my technical drawing ability, which translates a lot into my painting style. That's really where I developed most of what I feel like I put into my art nowadays. Well, in high school, I was in art classes, and I knew I wanted to do something artistic, but I wasn't exactly sure what. My initial reaction when choosing a college major was to go into fashion design because I always wanted to do some kind of wearable art. I feel like clothing's a really great way to express yourself, express a little bit about who you are as a person. And so I started off in fashion design, did design foundations where I did a lot of the drawing classes and learned the skills I needed to portray a visual idea. And as I started to transition into the fashion-specific classes, I realized that the industry was really something that I didn't want to be a part of. It wasn't really collaborative. It wasn't people helping each other out. It wasn't people bouncing off each other's ideas so much as it was competitive. And that wasn't something that I wanted to involve myself in for the rest of my life. So from there I switched into industrial design, which involved product design, electronics design, really everything. And I did that for about 2 years and really just worked on my drawing ability until I did an independent study. And on that independent study, I took the opportunity to travel a bunch and see everything that was out there, see the world a little bit and see the opportunities that I could have. And on that, I realized that industrial design was not the path for me. It was kind of making me not really as excited about my art. It made me feel a lot more pressure to do the art, and the art wasn't exactly something that I wanted to do. It was a lot less it was a lot more lifeless, basically. I would say 10 years ago was probably when I first really started to think of art as a serious thing, as something that I could, do for fun. I never really thought that I would be doing it as a job. It's kind of something my dad told me once. He said that you can go into school for art, you can be an artist, but I'm not going to pay your bills for the rest of your life. And I thought, okay. And that really discouraged me for a while, and I really thought that I couldn't do it. And then I really started to think about it more, and it's like, okay, well, I don't want my dad to pay my bills for the rest of my life anyways. And certain experiences led me to believe that there's a lot of things that are more important than money. And as long as I'm surrounded by a community that's supporting and I'm able to get by, I don't really need anything super extravagant. I'm happy living humbly and simply. Well, I was first introduced to the scene that I'm involved with painting in through Electric Forest in Rothbury, Michigan in 2011. I went there and I really had no idea about the entire scene that was going on behind music, everything else that went into it, the clothing, the art, the people, really just the pure creativity of it all and the openness of it all. And that was really, really, really eye-opening for me. And from there, I went from a very large festival and I started going to smaller festivals that are in the area, a lot of Ohio festivals, And I really began to see this art side of the community. There wasn't just the music, there was art paired with music. As you watch the music, you watch these artists create these beautiful works of art right in front of your eyes. You see the music feed into it. And as I got more involved with the Ohio painting scene, I began to see a lot of my friends, painting at shows, and I thought, hell, I'm an artist. I can do this too. And I really just kind of collabed with people for a little bit and just put my little touches on their canvas. I thought about just starting up my own live painting with canvases, but I really thought I wanted to do something that was prolific, something where people would really see it and remember it, something that stands out. And I had a jacket that I'd painted on a trip visiting a buddy in Copenhagen, and he had just a little bit written on the arm. And I bought some paint markers over there and I started painting my jacket, and eventually, the paint just took over the jacket. It went from a plain leather jacket that I never wore to my favorite piece of art that I could wear around every day. And as people started to notice it and compliment it, I realized, hey, maybe I should start making a lot of these. People have a really good response to this. I think I decided to start making a business out of it when I saw the potential behind it. I was really into the Ohio music scene and into the smaller side of things. But when I started going to really big festivals, I saw, these big booths, and I've kind of always envisioned, after I did the second one, I envisioned having this booth at a festival where it's the fusion of clothing and art with the live art element, where you can come in and see all these works of art, and then you can go to the stage and see one being created right in front of your eyes. And I feel like that draws a really neat connection between the music and the art and the clothing and the people that are there. There's definitely a different dynamic between live painting and studio painting. I find a lot of times with live painting, I'll go a lot more for free forms. I'll really honestly just start painting sometime and just, create a shape, and I'll be like, oh, you know what? That looks like a bird. I'm gonna turn that into a bird. And a lot of times with the studio stuff, it's a very clear laid out plan, and I have an idea and I'll lay it out onto a grid and make sure everything's very symmetrical. So a lot of my studio stuff's a lot more precise and a lot more detailed with a lot finer lines, whereas a lot of the live painted stuff is a lot more expressive and free flow, I think. In the next 5 years, I definitely want to expand a lot of what I'm doing. Right now, I'm painting on purses and jackets and vests. But recently, I was inspired by a booth called Lightfoot at a festival, and they make handmade leather clothes, specifically shoes and boots, sandals, these guys. And I saw that they had these little manifestation leaves, which were just little chunks of leather. And she had done it where she cut them out and carved them and put her own style into them. But I want to start making a lot more stuff that everybody can afford. If you don't have the money for a jacket, you can have something smaller, like a keychain or just a little charm, a little piece of leather that I can put a little bit of paint onto, not something that I'm putting 5-10 hours into, but something that I can make in a half hour, and somebody can still support my art and still have something cool to keep around.